Hello, and here I am. I'm going to do my second video blog, and I have an Apple TV now. So hopefully things will look a little clearer, and hopefully the lighting's a little bit better. So I think that hopefully to go along with the content, everything looks a little better. Let me know what you guys think after. Today I'm going to talk about the speed accuracy trade-off in squash. Okay, so about when we want to swing hard, when we want to slow our swing down, mainly focusing on the back corners, although this can still apply to the front corners or anywhere else in the game as well. So basically in squash, when we want to hit the ball hard, there's some reasons why we don't always, because sometimes we're far from the tee. Okay, so if we hit the ball hard, that means our momentum is going to kind of be staying more over top the shot, right? If we kind of chip the ball down the wall, easier for us to clear back to the tee. So further we are from the tee, the more we want to ease up on our swing, and that'll help us get back to the tee a little quicker. There's also some times where we're under a little pressure, maybe the time, right? So we don't have a lot of time to set up, take a full swing. We're not very balanced. So time and space are really important. Okay, so I just said space, but space also has to do with the back corners, right? So, or a very tight shot. We don't have a lot of room to take a full swing out of the back corner, and when the ball's very tight, obviously you don't want to break our racket, and it's hard to square it up, and you're not going to get the sweet spot. So, I'm not going to be able to hit the ball as hard when it's really tight, or when the ball is kind of dying in that back corner. So that's why good length is so important. Okay, so I'm going to show myself hitting a few drives, and we'll look at a few examples of when I decide to hit the ball with pace and when I decide to chip it down the wall, or kind of somewhere in between. Maybe not the best video to show you. I'm only hitting some drives by myself. My knee's still not 100%, so I think this would be better in a match situation or in some rotating drives. But I will have to leave that for another day, so we'll have to use your imagination. And yeah, I'm still learning how to use this, so if it isn't the best, give me a little bit of a break. At least the lighting should be better. Okay, so let's have a look. You can see what I've been watching recently. All right, so just hitting some drives by myself. Okay, medium pace here, kind of warming up a little bit. But even though I'm warming up, I'm having a target on these. So that one I hit my target, right? Some of these I didn't. That was decent, but a bit overhit. Okay, you see there, I had a lot of space. Right here again. Okay, so I had a lot of space there. Okay, when the ball comes away from the side wall, okay, away from the side wall, my opponent has to move further away from the tee, and I also have a better angle to hit that attack and drive in. So I talked about that last time. The ball came well off the back wall, so I have a lot of room to kind of take a full swing. I'm there early because I'm not clearing to the tee, so it's very easy for me to step in, transfer my weight, and hit a really hard pace shot. Okay, so that's a pretty simple time of when you want to maybe hit the ball with a bit more pace. I hit a couple of good drives in there too, where they were second bounce near the back corner, where I was kind of shortening up my swing. I'm under a bit more pressure, and you can see if I was actually moving from the tee or near the tee, that I might have been hitting off my back leg. So that's again another time where you can't step into it. You can't transfer your weight into the ball very well, where you're not gonna be able to hit the ball as hard. So I think maybe those are pretty straightforward examples of when to kind of hit it slower, when to hit it harder. So you need some space, you need some time, you need to be balanced. Okay, let's see a couple more. Okay, here just trying to hit it hard. There, now I'm just slowing it down. That didn't come too far off the back, neither did that. That I could have hit it harder if I wanted. Okay, so some good examples there. I wasn't really hitting the ball that hard. I was trying to maybe get a bit more focus on my accuracy, open the racket face, get the ball tighter, deeper. I think a lot of amateurs, one of the biggest problems is they leave their length too short, and they try to overhit their forehands, and especially men, boys. I don't know why. We just love to hit the ball hard, and we sometimes leave our length too short because of that. And I think we do that because we're not as accurate on our forehands. If we're not as accurate with our forehand shots, we feel like the only way we can apply pressure with our length is by overhitting it. And then you've probably had those matches where you come off and your shoulder's sore the next day. You just tire yourself out because you're just overhitting everything, and there's no real target, right? There's no purpose behind your shots, just to whack it. Your opponent can hang way back far from the tee because they're not worried about you playing anything to the front. And when you have a bouncy ball and you're playing something that also hits it hard, it feels like you can get really sucked into that kind of game. So I do think working on your accuracy, your forehand drive, cross court drive. If you're really accurate, you don't need to hit it super hard. You don't need to hit it super hard to apply pressure. Although I do think you should adjust your style of length and the pace and height you play at to your body type, your style of play. Like obviously, if you're a bit older, you're not as mobile. You need to kind of chip the ball a little bit more. Really be more careful when you want to hit the ball hard. You can't make up for missing your target, right? Someone like Sherbagi, amazing reach. He can basically get to any corner like within a second, back to the tee so fast. So he can make up for hitting the ball really hard and missing his target, right? Even against the best players in the world, he can get back in position so quick, and he's kind of always over on 2 feet, right? He's really balanced when he's hitting that ball hard too. He'll chip the ball when he's under a bit more pressure, but I think when you have that athleticism and you can cover the court so well, you can get away with being a bit more aggressive from the back of the court. And I really like what some of the Egyptian women are doing. For me, I think they're the first ones that really try to hit the ball really hard from the back corners consistently. And unless they're under a lot of pressure, a lot of them will just try to really hit it hard. And I think that's a big part of the game. Like definitely a lot of amateurs and even better players, I find have trouble consistently applying pressure from the backcourts. And we're taught as we're learning how to play squash, the backcourts is where we're maybe in defensive positions and our goal is just to get the ball deep again. But obviously at the highest level, that isn't going to cut it, right? If we have to we can't just get the ball back and get out of pressure. We need to apply some pressure, right? Even if it's not like tons of pressure, we can't give a good player lots of time to set up. A good player is going to be too accurate, and they can attack from anywhere in the court, right? The back corners, doesn't matter where they are. They can attack from anywhere on the court. You give them time, you give them space, you give them time to set their feet, you're in trouble, right? So you have to really be accurate with your shots. Yeah, okay, so hopefully that gives you a few things to think about. Think about what suits your game, right? Maybe you do need to try to hit the ball with a bit more pace. Maybe you're trying to hit the ball with too much pace when you don't have the time or space. You're not balanced. You're on your back foot. Maybe if you're just not accurate enough with your pace, but you feel like it's the right time. You're trying to push the envelope to get better. That's okay, right? You might not do as well now, but I think long term, if you stick with that, you'll eventually be able to apply more pressure by kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. And yeah, so I do like to do that. But again, if you're a bit of a shorter person, I'm only about 5'7", so if you're around my height, you maybe can't risk it as much as somebody who's as tall as like Pilley or Sherbagi, Nick Matthew. They can get away with a lot more. Amazing how Gauthier can kind of do what he does, right? He's probably not too much taller than me, but he's just so strong and lunge. He can stay so far from the ball, balance, still hit really good pace because he's so strong in his core and his legs that he can stay so close to the tee. So he's not really taking that many more steps than those guys that are quite a bit taller than him, and still generating a lot of pace because he has those less tension in the strings and very strong forearm and core. So it's definitely neat to see some of those top guys and how they do it and how they can influence your game. So pick one of the top guys who you think suits your body type, and how do they play? How do they vary the pace? If you look, I think there's one or two of the top guys from Hong Kong, a little bit shorter. You'll see they'll vary the pace a bit more, play more height, and they do it really well, right? Shabana got a bit older. He had to do that because he wasn't quite as quick as those top guys, but he could be as successful because he was accurate and he picked when he wanted to be aggressive, when he would chip it, and when he'd float, lob the ball from the back, and really kept guys on their heels. So There's lots of ways to play this game, so don't get sucked into just, bashing the ball without a purpose. All right, so hopefully